Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast, where we discuss all things empowering, encouraging and inspiring. My name is Yvonne Ellis. I'm an empowerment speaker, author, coach, trainer and founder of Yumi Empowerment, a company that facilitates the empowerment of people. I help people to make positive life change, live in their purpose and develop into their best version of self. I share stories, interviews, spiritual encouragement and actionable tips to empower, encourage and inspire you to live the life you want. So if you want to live the empowered life, join me each week on my podcast so we can take the journey together. Hello Empowered Lifers, welcome to episode 73 of Living the Empowered Life podcast. My name is Yvonne and I am the host of the podcast, and on this podcast I share with you things to help you to live an empowered life. That could be things from my own journey that I learned along the way. It could be biblical encouragement, quotes, tips, advice, all different types of things, as well as interviews with people who are living an empowered life. So if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, please do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also Google Podcasts. That is the new podcast platform that I have the podcast on. Don't forget to press follow or subscribe so you don't miss the bi-weekly episodes. So guys, I hope that you're doing all really well. I'm doing great. I am now on the last few days of the Living the Empowered Life challenge, and earlier this week I shared on Instagram and some of my other social media how the challenge is going. And I did a video because I did miss a few days this week just because of work and other commitments, doing an update really about how the challenge is going. And I've learned a lot from actually doing this type of challenge. I've never done something like this before for people who subscribe to Living the Empowered Life, or those who follow me or who are part of my newsletter group. I wanted to do this because I wanted to give people a taste of different things that they could do for free to help them to live an empowered life. And I have learned, as I said, so much along this experience, and I am going to be doing a bit of an update in one of the upcoming episodes about some of the things that I learned about this process. Now, doing a challenge and doing it every day looks very easy, but actually in practice it can be quite hard because as I said, life comes up, life is lifing, there's so many different things going on. Things come up at the last minute with work or study and different things, and you have to rearrange, maybe some of your best laid plans. But as I said, I'm going to update you on that challenge, some of the good things that I found about it, some of the difficult things, some of the kind of activities that I enjoyed and all that stuff. So please do look out for that in an upcoming episode. So in today's episode, guys, it's going to be a short one, but nevertheless it's going to be an important one. And today I want to talk to you about the if only trap. Now I'm going to explain to you in a little bit more detail what I mean by the if only trap. It is that place where you are in your life where you may be looking at other things and be thinking to yourself, if only this, if only that. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about, why if only is not really a good place to be in, how it can keep you trapped or can trap you. And I must say, just right off the bat, that I believe if only, what is breeding actually, if only, is the social media era that we're living in. The internet, is creating this kind of distorted world of discontentment in many people. So it's one of those things that if only trap. I have found myself caught in it. And the times that I've caught myself in it, I've had to kind of reel myself back into reality. So I'm going to share a little bit more about that with you in a second. But before that, I want to share some quotes with you that I found around the if onlys. And I must say, guys, if you do have any quotes, please do send them in to me. You can DM them to me on social media, or you can email them to me at info@yumiempowerment.com. All details will be in the show notes. I would love you guys to get involved and to share quotes with me so we can share it amongst the Living the Empowered Life community. So with that said, I'm going to share these quotes with you. So the first quote is by Jasper Ford, and he says, "If only life were that simple. if one could jump to the good parts and flick through the bad. I think a lot of people feel like that when it comes to life. And the second quote I want to share with you is by Edith Wharton. And she says, if only we'd stop trying to be happy, we could have a pretty good time. I suppose she's speaking there to probably contentment. And the last quote I want to share with you is by Mercedes Lackey. She says, if only. Those must be the two saddest words in the world. And as I said, I wanted to speak today about the if only trap, because I think the if only trap comes from wanting to live a perfect life. It is set up to discourage, to disappoint, to frustrate, and to limit, because when you're stuck in the place of if only, it robs you of seeing the beauty of what is in your life now and enjoying it. And it's easy to be in this type of situation where you are in this if only trap. It could be to think that you don't have something, or to measure yourself against somebody else or society's expectations of what, you should have, who you should be, and then say to yourself, if only I was richer, if only I was prettier, if only I was this weight or this way. And there is a quote that says that comparison is the thief of joy. And I couldn't agree more with that quote. To compare is to impair. It's something that I've talked about before. Now, if only is a real problem, because what happens is when we think about if only, and this is why I say it's a trap, because if we looking at something or somebody else's life, or, looking at social media and saying, if only I was, that pretty, or if only I lived there, or if only I had these things, or if only I had that education. The reason why I say it's a trap, you're comparing things to things that you have no experience of. And it's very easy to be on one side of something and say, if only I had that, when you've had no experience of it, to think that it would be the better thing, where, as a matter of fact, it probably might not be the best thing for you. The way that God has designed our lives is in a certain way for us to experience certain things. And, the Lord God doesn't give us anything before our time. But I think what has happened with a lot of people, and I have been myself one of these people that it's happened to as well, is that sometimes we look at the power of imagery, we look at the power of social media, we look at things on the internet or in magazines, and then it gets us on this kind of really distorted, discouraging journey of thinking, well, if only I, had this or had that, or if only I could do this at this time, and it just really robs us from appreciating the here and now of the journey that God has placed us on in what we have in our lives. And there are many things that cause this if only trap. I've just given a few examples of, outward things that people look on and compare and say, if only. But there are things that I believe are the root causes of the if only trap. The first thing being discontentment, not being content with what you have. Now, this can happen so easily, especially in, this first world that we live in. If we look at other countries where they don't have much, and they have very little, they are very, very content with what they have, because they've not known the money, they've not known lots of choice, they've not known even little things that people might take for granted over here, like, over here we have social housing. They've not known none of that, and they live so modestly in their, maybe in some countries, in a little hut or a little shack, and they're content because they have food, they have water, they have, their family and stuff. And it's really shocking and surprising, I think, how we can become so discontent with the things that we have over here, the things that we take for granted, where in other countries they have very little and they appreciate every single thing they have. So for me, I think one of the things that I've known about the if only trap is that it comes from a place of discontentment. It comes from being unsatisfied. It comes from not being thankful and feeling blessed for what we have in front of us in our own lives, and instead looking what somebody else has. That's one of the things where it comes from. Another place it comes from is impatience. Now, we live in a we want it all now society, meaning that, at the click of a finger, we can get almost anything that we want. With the power of the internet, there's so many things that you can just click and buy now, and you don't have to wait for it. You can get next day delivery, it gets delivered to your house. We rarely have to wait for anything in society, especially, as I said, somewhere like the UK, America, wherever it is, that's considered like a first world country. We don't have to wait for things. And I think that distorted kind of thing where we don't have to wait for things can affect our lives in other areas as well, not with just shopping and material things, but just in life in general. A lot of people don't want to put in the hard work, the sacrifice, and be part of the journey to getting that thing. They want it now. They see people with a certain lifestyle or being able to do certain things, but they don't want to put in the hard work to get it. And it's that impatience of thinking, well, and entitlement, I will say as well, of thinking, well, I want it now. I want to be where I want to be now. And I don't want to work for it. I don't want to wait for it. I don't want to have to do anything to obtain or achieve it. And that's what breeds that impatience. That's what says, I want to take shortcuts. I want to, not do things well or to put in the hard work. That is something I feel does contribute to the if only trap. Because what it says is that we're not willing to be part of that journey and appreciating the journey as well to get there. Another thing I would say is lack of appreciation. This is lack of appreciation of the journey it takes to get to something or to achieve something, a goal, a dream, or whatever it is. A lack of appreciation of achievements, things that you may have achieved in life. And it's so weird, really, because when you think about it, sometimes people struggle with things for so many years and then finally crack it, finally overcome, finally get to where they need to get to, only then to dismiss all of that and then think to themselves, well, if only, I did this, if only I did that, and it just takes away from so many things. And I watched a video a few days ago, and I'm going to leave a link to it, and it was by this homeless guy, and you could really tell that the Spirit of God was on this guy, because when he spoke about life and he spoke about the journey of life, it really touched my soul, because he was saying that so many people are in such a hurry to get to that thing that they really want, and very few are willing to put in the work or do the things that they need to do to get it. But those that do are in such a hurry, and when they get it, they're bitterly disappointed. And I just remember thinking when I watched this, wow, this is why it is important to appreciate the here and now of your life, and to stop comparing, stop, thinking, if only I had this, if only I had that. Everybody's life is unique to them, and the journey of life is something that helps us to appreciate what we have in our life. And, it just got me thinking about the journey of life and being content and going forward and just appreciating the little things rather than looking and saying, if only I had, this, or if only I had that. When I look at my struggles with if only, it has come about when, I have not really appreciated some things. It's come about, when I've been unsure of a decision and I've made a decision, only then to look at what it could have been and think to myself, if only. It has come from comparing my life to things that I'd never experienced in my life. And it's come as well from, wanting things to be exactly so, wanting things to turn out just right. And all these things are not in line with appreciating life. So I had to go through a learning process, and I'm still on that journey of appreciating the here and now, appreciating who I am, what I have, where I'm going. And some days I do really great with it. Other days, maybe when I'm feeling a bit low or feeling a bit demotivated, that if only might creep in. And it is a journey, because I think that, everything has to have a balance. It is good to have goals and things to strive for, but it's important as well to appreciate where you are in your life at this moment. It's very easy to measure up against society's expectations of what you should have, should be, and say if only. But when you have no experience of that thing, it's very easy to get caught in that illusion, in that trap, and that false perception and reality of what we believe life would be with whatever that if only thing is. So there are some things that I feel would really help to escape the if only trap and make it a bit easier. The first thing is to learn to be content. And usually I share the Bible scripture at the end of the podcast. But one of the Bible scriptures I want to share with you is from Philippians 4:11-13. And at the moment I am starting a Bible study in my own time of contentment, because this is something I really want to learn about more from God's point of view, from a biblical sense. But it says, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So the word there is, no matter what the situation is, whatever is going on, Christ is the source of being content in every situation. This is something I'm still learning about. This is something I'm still, trying to get my own head around. But contentment is something that is really going to help to thwart that if only kind of trap that society lays for us. Because there's always going to be this thing, that when you have that if only thing, there'll be something else that will come along. The next thing I want to share with you that will help with the if only trap is to live in the here and now. Live in the here and now. Enjoy your life right now. Create those memories and good moments right now. Appreciate the things that you have right now. Don't compare yourself or think about the things in the future or the things you wish you would have. As the saying goes, stop and smell the roses. Stop and enjoy those moments in life, that you have now. As I've mentioned on other podcasts, tomorrow is promised to nobody. We don't know whether tomorrow will be our last day on earth. Stop comparing yourself and stop thinking if only I had this or that. Appreciate what you have now. And the next thing I want to share with you is to enjoy the journey of life. As I shared about that video, if you can check it out, I'll leave a link in the show notes. But you have to enjoy where you are in life, because there are so many things that we need to know in this moment that will prepare us for those things maybe that may come into our life later on. And the last thing I want to share with you is enjoy what you have and enjoy who you are. Enjoy who you are right now. It's no point looking at somebody else and enjoying who they are, because as I've always said, to compare is to impair. Enjoy who you are in the moment now. Don't look on somebody else's life and say, if only you were like them, if only I was had their money, if only I was slim like them, if only I had their knowledge, or what. Everybody's journey in life is different. Enjoy who you are and enjoy what you have. Enjoy what you have, because there's always somebody out there that doesn't have what you have. You see, that's the thing about the if only trap. There is always somebody playing that game. There's always somebody looking for the perfect life. You may think your life is bog standard. You may think your life is boring. You may think that your life falls below certain expectations, but then there is somebody who is probably living in a worse circumstance than yourself, who's thinking exactly the same thing about your life or my life. So enjoy what you have now and enjoy who you are. That is one of the things that is going to help you with the if only trap. And it's not something that happens overnight. I know that these things are things that take time. As somebody actually who has lived in a non-social media era to living in a social media time as we are now, life was certainly much better without social media. Yes, there's many things that we have been able to do through the advancement of technology and stuff, but I really do think it has distorted a lot of people's views of what real life is, of life in general, the journey of life and all that stuff. So for me, it's about just going back to those basics and limiting social media. As I said on my post earlier on in the week, that, I don't really like to go on social media at the weekend. If it's part of, social media content stuff like the LTL challenge, I will do weekend posts. But that's part of the reason why I don't want to be on social media lots. And yes, in this day and age, businesses do need that social media presence. I do need it as well. But it's about finding that balance. But, I do think that it is one of the things, as I said, that is creating this discontentment amongst many people and this kind of comparison thing. If only my life was like this, and setting people up for so much disappointment, discouragement, and, just really putting limits on their life. So guys, that is what I wanted to talk to you about this week, the if only trap. If you do struggle with this, I want you to be encouraged because you're not alone in this. I have had my seasons and different times of struggling with this. But one of the key things, as I shared in that Bible verse, is finding the source of true contentment, and that is in Jesus Christ. And even going on that journey with God, it's something that takes time. It's something that you have to ask God for wisdom for him to reveal his word to you, to reveal himself to you, and to help you with it, because that's what I'm doing. It certainly doesn't come overnight. But the first step is to recognize that the if only trap or the if only tendencies are present in your life, and then work from there. So that is it for this week, guys. I hope that you have found this episode to be helpful. Please do drop me a line. I do a post notification on my social media and on YouTube to say that I have uploaded the episode. And this week, it's really just about thinking and reflecting on areas of your life where you may feel that the if only trap is, rearing its ugly head. Write it down in your journal or notebook and think about ways where you can start to, appreciate the life that you have now and the person that you are and your journey. As I said, I will be posting the notifications, so please do drop me a comment or an email if you feel this is an area you struggle in. I'm a certified empowerment coach. I help people to, look at things in their life and help them to work towards their goals and dreams. And also really as well to help them break down maybe some perceptions and different things in their lives that have built up over time that may not be necessarily true. I will leave all links to my books, courses, empowerment coaching and newsletter in the show notes. And I will see you on the next episode. Take care.